Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. Some people can't have the wedding of their dreams, so they decide to take over yours. Today in the rLounge, if mother-in-law can't be the bride, she'll at least try to be the boss. Mother-in-law changed my wedding plans without permission, so I moved the venue without telling her. She showed up to an empty hall. My fiancé proposed after we'd been together for 3 years. Nothing fancy, just a quiet moment at our favorite hiking spot overlooking the city. We talked about marriage before, so it wasn't a surprise, but I still cried when he got down on one knee. We're both pretty laid-back people who value experiences over material things, so we immediately agreed on a small wedding. We both love autumn and wanted something with a rustic, woodland vibe. Nothing over the top or formal. Just good food, good music, and celebrating with people we actually care about. We set a date for early October, giving us about 6 months to plan. When we told our families about the engagement, my parents were thrilled. They offered to help financially without any strings attached, which was a huge relief. My mother-in-law seemed excited too, but looking back, I should have paid more attention to her comments about what makes a proper wedding. We found this perfect venue called Woodland Ridge, a renovated barn with huge windows overlooking a forest. The moment we walked in, we knew it was exactly what we wanted. The space was intimate, but not cramped, rustic, but not run down, and had this amazing natural light that would be perfect for photos. We put down a refundable deposit that day to secure our date. That's when the problems started. My mother-in-law called me for what she described as a few suggestions that turned into nearly an hour of her criticizing our plans. According to her, we needed at least 150 guests, including extended family members I'd never even heard of. She was concerned about what people would think if we didn't invite her third cousin twice removed or her bridge club friends. I tried to be respectful but firm about keeping it small. We were paying for most of it ourselves, and we wanted to actually know everyone at our wedding. She brought up family traditions and all the people who've known my fiancé since he was a baby. My fiancé assured me he'd handle his mother. He had a talk with her, explaining that while we accepted her input, this was our wedding, and we wanted to do it our way. She seemed to accept this, but in hindsight, she was just regrouping. A few weeks later, she offered to contribute $5,000 toward the wedding. It was generous, and we accepted gratefully, but I made sure to clarify that it was still our wedding to plan. She smiled too wildly and said, of course, she just wanted to help make our day special. The smile should have been my second warning. We continued planning, booked a photographer, found a DJ who wouldn't play the chicken dance, and started looking at catering options. Meanwhile, mother-in-law texted constant suggestions for upgrades we didn't want. Everything from ice sculptures to dove releases. My fiancé started avoiding her calls, which only made her more persistent with me. Then came the dinner invitation. She wanted to discuss some wedding details with us both. Seemed harmless enough. We arrived to find she'd prepared a 3-course meal and had a binder, an actual color-coded binder, full of her ideas for our wedding. She'd been doing some research, she told us, sliding the binder across the table. Inside were quotes from a venue called Grand Ballroom, a massive downtown hotel ballroom that couldn't be more different from what we wanted. She claimed Woodland Ridge was charming in a tone that made it clear she thought it was anything but it was really too small for her proper wedding. The Grand Ballroom was much more befitting the family name, according to her. My fiancé was surprisingly firm, telling her we'd already decided on our venue, put down a deposit, and it was exactly what we wanted. Cue the waterworks. She insisted she was just trying to help and asked if we didn't want our wedding to be special and memorable. After an exhausting evening, we left with her tearful promise to respect our choices. For 2 weeks, wedding planning went smoothly. I should have known it was too good to be true. I called Woodland Ridge to confirm some details and was met with confusion from the venue manager. Someone had called to cancel our reservation the previous week, she explained. They'd already booked another couple for our date. My stomach dropped. I never canceled. There must be some mistake. The manager forwarded me the cancellation email, sent from an address that looked like mine, but with a slight variation I might not have noticed if I wasn't looking for it. Someone had created a fake email account in my name to cancel our venue. I knew immediately who was responsible. When I confronted my mother-in-law, she didn't even try to deny it. She admitted to creating the fake email to cancel our reservation and had already put a non-refundable deposit on the Grand Ballroom without telling us. She claimed she did it for our own good and that we'd thank her later. The worst part? She'd already sent out 75 additional invitations to her friends and extended family, people we didn't even want at our wedding. My fiancé was livid when I told him, but then suggested we might have to accept it since venues are hard to find last minute. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I spent the entire night crying, feeling like our wedding had been stolen from us, but my morning determination had replaced my tears. While my fiance was at work, I researched alternative venues. That's when I found Evergreen Estate, another rustic venue with availability on our original date. It was slightly more expensive than Woodland Ridge, but even more beautiful. I immediately used my savings to put down a deposit. I wasn't going to let his mother hijack our wedding. When I told my fiance about the new venue, he was thrilled but worried about confronting his mother. That's when we came up with our plan. We would say nothing to her about the venue change. We'd let her think she'd won while secretly planning our actual wedding. A few days later, mother-in-law texted asking for a meeting with her preferred vendors. We reluctantly met with her, pretending to go along with her plans. She'd selected the gaudiest decorations, a formal 5-course meal that neither of us would enjoy, and a classical quartet instead of her DJ. We nodded and smiled. We secretly met with our actual vendors at Evergreen Estate and planned the cozy, intimate wedding we originally wanted. We sent private messages to our real guest list explaining the situation and asked everyone to keep the venue change secret from mother-in-law and her side of the family. Everyone was supportive and promised discretion. Many of them had met her and understood exactly why we were doing this. Mother-in-law sent proof of the invitations she'd sent to her extended family and friends. The list included business associates, distant cousins, and people we'd never even met. The guest count was now at 175 people, more than double what we wanted. We continued pretending everything was fine. When she insisted on coming to my dress fitting, I'd already purchased my dress secretly. I went to the appointment with fake enthusiasm, claiming nothing fit right, and scheduled another appointment that would never happen. At our final meeting with mother-in-law and her vendors at Grand Ballroom, we saw she'd gone completely overboard. Ice sculptures, a champagne fountain, and a string quartet. The cost had ballooned to triple our original budget. She was paying the difference but acting like a martyr about it. 2 days before the wedding, we had the rehearsal dinner for our real wedding. We told my fiance's father the truth. His parents are divorced. He laughed until he cried and promised to be at the real venue. He even said he'd film mother-in-law's reaction for us, which seemed like the perfect wedding gift. On our wedding day, I woke up to several texts from mother-in-law about getting ready. We told her we were running late but would meet her at Grand Ballroom. Instead, we headed to Evergreen Estate with our real guests. The ceremony was beautiful and went exactly as we had planned. During our first dance, my fiance's dad sent a video of mother-in-law at the empty Grand Ballroom. She was screaming at the staff, demanding to know where everyone was. The look on her face when she realized what happened was priceless. She eventually figured out when nobody showed up and started bombarding our phones with calls and texts. The best wedding gift we gave ourselves was turning our phones off and enjoying the perfect day. I don't regret what we did. After she went behind our backs to cancel our venue, created a fake email pretending to be me, and invited people we didn't even know to our wedding, she got exactly what she deserved. Our wedding was perfect, exactly what we wanted with the people we actually cared about. The cherry on top was that video from my father-in-law sent of her meltdown. She was frantically calling guests, who were all with us, demanding to know where everyone was. The staff looked completely confused as she screamed about how this was her son's wedding and how could no one be there. The video ended with her sitting alone at what was supposed to be our head table, mascara running down her face. We've gotten some pushback from her side of the family, saying we humiliated her and should have been up front. But these are the same people who thought it was perfectly fine for her to cancel our venue behind her backs. The hypocrisy is astounding. My fiancé has stood firmly by my side through all of this, which I'm incredibly grateful for. For now, I'm just happy. Our wedding photos came back yesterday and they're perfect. Not a single ice sculpture or champagne fountain in sight. Just us, surrounded by people who respect our choices, celebrating in the rustic woodland setting we always wanted. I'm sorry, but creating a fake email account to cancel your venue? That's not motherly concern. She didn't want to be included. She wanted to be in charge. She wanted the wedding to be about her reputation and her social circle. And when you didn't hand it over, she tried to steal it. So the fact that she ended up alone in a giant table she chose, in the venue she forced, surrounded by 175 empty chairs she invited? Ha! We love to see it. Update 1. After our perfect wedding at Evergreen Estate, we turned our phones back on that evening to find missed calls from my mother-in-law. I didn't listen to all the voicemails, but I skimmed through enough to watch the progression from confusion to rage to tearful manipulation. Her last message threatened to never speak to us again, which honestly felt more like a promise than a threat. My husband and I actually toasted that possibility. The morning after our wedding, we spoke up to an essay-length text from mother-in-law. She claimed we humiliated her in front of everyone and demanded reimbursement for the Grand Ballroom deposit, which apparently was $10,000. $10,000 she spent without our permission or knowledge, trying to hijack our wedding. We sent a single response. Actions have consequences. Enjoy your party. Then we blocked her number and enjoyed the first day of our marriage in peace. My father-in-law has been surprisingly awesome throughout all of this. He sent us screenshots of mother-in-law's meltdown in the family group chat, where she was claiming we tricked her and stole her money. Father-in-law responded publicly with the full story of what actually happened, including how she created a fake email in my name to cancel our original venue. Mother-in-law's sister, who has apparently always disliked her, made sure the extended family knew exactly what had happened. When we returned from our honeymoon, we found an envelope in our mail. Inside was a formal invoice from mother-in-law for all the grand ballroom costs. She had itemized everything, from the venue deposits to the centerpieces we never asked for. My husband's best friend reached out privately to tell us this isn't the first relationship mother-in-law has damaged with her controlling behavior. Apparently, she drove away my husband's college girlfriend by constantly interfering and rearranging their plans. She also had a falling out with her own sister years ago, trying to take over her daughter's graduation party. My brother-in-law called last week to tell us mother-in-law is still fuming about the wedding. She's now claiming we stole family heirlooms that she wanted to use at the grand ballroom reception. The items in question are actually cheap decorations she bought from a home goods store last month. We know because we were with her when she purchased them. My husband has been unwavering in his support. I was worried he might cave under the pressure or blame me for the fallout, but he's been clear that his mother's behavior has been unacceptable. He told me he's actually relieved in some ways. We've decided to maintain the no contact. The best part of this whole situation is that despite mother-in-law's best efforts, our wedding was absolutely perfect. Not a single person who was there has suggested we should have done anything differently. For those wondering if we were going to pay her invoice, absolutely not. She made those final decisions without our consent or input. The $5,000 she originally offered toward our wedding, we never saw a penny of it, and went straight to her grand ballroom deposit without our knowledge. Update 2. It's been 6 months since my last update, and I figured it was time to share how things have evolved. So much has happened that I'm not even sure where to begin. After maintaining no contact with my mother-in-law for several months, we started hearing through the family grapevine that she was telling people we were coming around and that we were working things out. This couldn't have been further from the truth. We hadn't spoken to her at all, but she was apparently living in an alternate reality where we were on the path to reconciliation. Things escalated when she created a fake social media account pretending to be me. She used this account to post apologies to her and the family for my behavior regarding the wedding. She even went so far as to post fake screenshots of conversations between us where I supposedly admitted to being manipulated by my husband into changing the venue. The account included personal photos of me she must have gotten from other family members. I only found out when my cousin texted me asking if I'd created a new account. I was horrified. The profile had already added several of my friends and family members, many of whom believed it was actually me. We immediately reported the account and had it taken down, but not before she'd done considerable damage to my reputation with extended family who weren't familiar with the story. My husband was beyond furious. This crossed a line even he hadn't thought his mother capable of. He decided it was time for a direct confrontation and drove to her house. I wasn't there, but according to him, she initially denied creating the account until he showed her the evidence we'd gathered. The IP address matched her home network, and several of the posts were made when she was the only one at home. When confronted with proof, she broke down crying, claiming she just wanted her family back together and didn't see any other way to make it happen. My husband told her that her actions had ensured the exact opposite result. We would now be pursuing a restraining order against her. He left her sobbing on her porch and came home determined to legally protect us from her increasingly unhinged behavior. We met with a lawyer the next day who helped us document everything, from the fake email she used to cancel our original venue to the impersonation on social media. The lawyer was confident we had a solid case for a restraining order based on harassment and identity theft. We filed the paperwork that week. Mother-in-law must have realized we were serious because suddenly family members started calling us to mediate. Her sister, who had previously been on our side, now urged us to consider family therapy instead of legal action. My husband's cousin suggested we were being too harsh and should give her another chance. Even my father-in-law, who had been supportive until then, asked if a restraining order was really necessary. The pressure was intense, but we stood firm. We had given her multiple chances, and each time she escalated her behavior. The court date for the restraining order hearing was set, and we prepared our evidence. 2 days before the hearing, mother-in-law sent a notarized letter through her lawyer. It contained what appeared to be a sincere apology, acknowledging her actions were wrong and promising to respect our boundaries going forward. She also enclosed a check for the full amount she'd spent on the grand ballroom, stating she recognized it was her choice to book it without our consent. The letter ended with a request that we drop the restraining order proceedings, as it would damage her professional reputation. She works in real estate. She promised to maintain distance and only contact through approved family members if we agreed. We discussed it at length and decided to proceed with the hearing anyway. The pattern of escalation was clear, and a notarized letter didn't erase months of harassment. The judge granted a 1-year restraining order which prohibits her from contacting us directly, coming to our home, or posting about us on social media. She's also barred from impersonating either of us in any form. The fallout was immediate. Mother-in-law's side of the family was outraged that we humiliated her with a legal order despite her apology. Several relatives sent nasty messages accusing us of being vindictive and cruel. My husband's brother stopped speaking to him entirely. Only a handful of family members understood our position and remained supportive. What none of them knew was that while mother-in-law was sending her sincere apology letter, she was simultaneously telling neighbors that I was mentally unstable and had manipulated her son into cutting her off. We only discovered this when a neighbor who knows both of us overheard her at a community event and reached out to warn us. The restraining order has been in effect for 4 months now, and the change in our lives has been remarkable. The constant anxiety of wondering what she might do next is gone. We changed our phone numbers, locked down our social media, and set up security cameras at our home just in case. It might seem excessive, but the peace of mind is worth it. We recently had dinner with my father-in-law. He showed us text messages she sent him after the order was granted, full of rage and threats to expose us to everyone we know. As for us, we bought a house in a gated community where mother-in-law can't just show up unannounced. We're planning to start a family soon and have already discussed how we'll protect our future children from her influence if necessary. The restraining order expires in 8 months, and we haven't decided yet whether to renew it. Part of me hopes mother-in-law has learned her lesson and will respect our boundaries going forward. The realistic part of me knows that's unlikely given her track record. An itemized bill for a fake wedding you never agreed to? What? Then we get to the fake social media account. I'm sorry. Once someone impersonates you online, posts fake apologies, and fabricates conversations where you admit to being brainwashed? I mean, that's crazy. This is straight up crazy behavior. I'm honestly proud of your husband for stepping up. Some people fold under mommy pressure, but he walked in, confronted her, and walked out like a man who realized he married someone worth defending. That's huge. You're absolutely right to go forward with the restraining order. And sending a sincere apology? She only apologized because her career was on the line. Do you have a similar mother-in-law story? Share yours with us in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time. And please, put your chair back where you found it.